Helaine Silverman, a professor of anthropology at the University of Illinois at Urbana Champaign and co-director of the Mythic Mississippi project. I'm talking to you today so as to introduce a video that you'll see shortly, which was filmed by Gordon Heyman of James R. Alderson of Gillespie, Illinois, who is a longtime interpreter and presenter of the great General Alexander Bradley. Bradley was significant for his extraordinary work at the very end of the 19th century in mobilizing the coal miners of Illinois to join the newly created United Mine Workers Union. And under his charisma and his oratory and his passion, he was able to increase membership in this union from 400 to almost 40,000. And in the video that you see, James Alderson will be presenting General Bradley in Bradley's words. As you'll see in a PowerPoint that I'll show you in a moment, Jim is actually quite a bit older right now than General Bradley was when he was active in the coal fields, but James Alderson does capture the spirit of General Bradley. And this performance at the Union Miners Cemetery is very important because for many years, General Bradley was forgotten. There's very little written about him. And so it's really been through the work of historians such as John Keyser, and more recently, the work of the Real Mother Jones Museum in Mount Olive and the members of the board of the Union Miners Cemetery in Mount Olive. And through these kinds of commemorative events, such as the one filmed, which was May Day 2020, that the history and significance of General Bradley is captured.
I was born on November 29, 1866 in England. In 1873, my family relocated to Collinsville, Illinois. By the age of 9, I was picking slate at the Devil's Hole mine, and it truly was a devil's hole. In 1894, I began organizing for working men as one of General Coxey's first recruits on his march to Washington. On his march to Washington to demand jobs for the many unemployed. We marched, picking up recruits along the way. Some of our army from the western states borrowed trains from the railroad. Of course, they forgot to tell them about the loan. We arrived in Washington full of hope, but were driven off the grass in front of the Capitol on May 1, 1894, with a few heads cracked and our leaders arrested. Our march ended in failure as we were unable to deliver our demands at the White House steps. But it taught me the importance of marching and standing together to support a common cause. The rights of the working class. As Mother Jones said, if we don't stand together, there will be no victory for any of us. Now to the heart of my union efforts. On July 4, 1897, the United Mine Workers strike was started for the 8-hour day and a raise in pay. This strike lasted for 2 months. A contract would not be signed until April 1, 1898, a banner day in United Mine Worker history. Almost immediately, trouble came again as some companies wanted to break the contract. A strike and lockout was started in Verdun and Pana, Illinois. I appointed myself as an organizer for the United Mine Workers, which had scarcely 400 members. On this important day, I met in the woods with some of my fellow miners at a secret meeting place. We resolved to uphold the United Mine Workers. We knew that miners had to honor the call to strike. I traveled to Belleville, where miners voted to stand together and strike. Upon returning to Mount Olive, I received word that the leaders could not keep the men out of the pits. This made me damn mad, as they had given me their word. I told my men we were going back down there, you are going with me, and we are marching. So we left Mount Olive with a large group of men in a food wagon. Our group grew along the way. We were met in Staunton by a band and more miners at Warden. Our army was growing. More joined at Edwardsville as we struggled on to Glen Carbon. I needed strong support from the Glen Carbon miners as the Madison Coal Company controlled the town. Company-owned houses, pay and script. Much to my surprise, they came out in support of the strike. Victory was not complete until the Battle of Verdun on the morning of October 12, 1898. I was there at the battle to see the miners fight for a living wage and better working conditions. 7 miners died that day, and another died the next day from injuries. Unknown numbers were wounded. It was with dismay that I needed to send a telegram to Mount Olive stating, "Don't send men, send doctors." I remind you that before the Battle of Verdun, the United Mine Workers had about 400 paying members, and after the Battle of Verdun were 40,000 strong. We are here today to remember those miners who stayed strong and united in their fight. Remember those who came before us and those that will follow in our fight for workers' rights. Thank you.